What's up, everyone? It's Birds Deep. We are going to go deep. Welcome back. You got me, the THEEGODFREY, and next to me, you got my man, Mean Gene. Tell him who you are.
Mean! Woo! Gene. You know something, brother? I'm in a great mood today.
Yeah.
Even after an Eagles loss, I'm in a great mood tonight.
Yeah, the Eagles were getting refed by three blind mice, but they also were the Pied Piper and helping the three blind mice, seal that loss for them. We are going to dive deep into that as this is Birds Deep. You know where to find us. Shout out to our listeners out there in the UK.
A Piper reference. And
I definitely did.
And blame the referees all in one sentence.
Well, they're not entirely to blame. They're really actually a small fraction of the blame, if we're being realistic here. They're smidgen. Correct. We should have won that game. The Eagles should have won that game. I'm not going to say I don't play on the Eagles, but anyway, they should have won that game. And we'll get into that. We're going to give you our grades, our recap, as per usual, predictions for next week, and then we're going to slice and dice, this past Monday night. I'm still trying to get back my mortgage that I bet on that game. I'm just joking. I don't have a mortgage.
We got a fraud fan in the chat already. My man, Freddie Henderson from Sports Empire Network, a fraud fan. He's a fraud. You don't know. Listen to You Gotta Be Kidding Me last night from Wire to Wire. Fraud Freddie is in the chat.
Is he a commie?
So I'll give you a quick story for any Birds Deep listeners out there. I would love for you guys to privately message him and blow up his inbox and let him know how much of a fraud he is. So when I met Freddie early in the year. Freddie's a great guy. Let me just start there. Sports Empire Network is the future of sports podcasting networks. Love the guy. Let me just start there. He is my brother. He said, I thought we were brothers. But I'll give you a quick story and we'll get into the Eagles tonight. And it has to do with the Eagles. I met Freddie. Freddie tells me he's a Rams fan, Lakers fan, Dodgers fan. He's from Texas. I'm like, all right, maybe he just likes LA sports, right? Like he likes the Dodgers,
Rams
the Lakers.
Fan.
The Rams, right? It's okay. They win the Super Bowl. He's like, yeah, we won the Super Bowl. Super Bowl was the last time your team won a Super Bowl. Blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? The Rams stink this year, right? They're 3-5. And Freddie, 2 weeks ago, Freddie makes a declaration on his Facebook that he is now a New York Giants fan.
What?
So hold on. Let me take it a step further. So I'm like, wait. Where did this come from? I was always I was Giants fan before I was a Rams fan. So what he did was he was a Giants fan, apparently. And then the Giants stunk. So he's like, I'm not going to root for the Giants. I have to front run somewhere else. And he adopted the Rams as his team. They win the Super Bowl. He celebrates. He gloats like a Super Bowl champion should. And then the moment they have turmoil, the moment their franchise starts falling apart, Freddie jumps ship and is now a Giants fan on the coattails for another run in his mind.
Wow. That is fugazi. That is fraudulent. And Gene knows that even though Stafford won, and I gave him credit, I have been saying since the beginning of the year that your Rams will not make the playoffs. So I think he's feeling that as a fan, and he jumped the ship. In fact, when they said Matthew Stafford was out, I bet the house, even with Colt McCoy being in, on the Rams. I took the money line. I took a parlay. It was a menage a trois of bets that won on that team. But anyway, that's a whole nother. We'll save that for pregame pigskin. But I'm just gonna let you know, like, that is pretty fraudulent. And you got to pick the team that won. I hate the Giants. I despise the Giants. You had to pick that team, NFC East team.
All right, I am going to have so much fun on Giants week because I didn't have a Giants fan that I was really friends with, that I could tag, that I could laugh at, that I could talk shit to when the Eagles beat them twice this year. And then especially when they have their first round exit on wild card weekend because they won't be making it past them. And that's fine. That's what I'm looking forward to. But let's get into the team that's still number one in the NFL. They're still the best team in the NFL, best record, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now you mentioned the referees. So let me start there. I don't believe that as Eagles fans, we should be blaming the referees for that game on Monday night. It's
Okay.
like in UFC when you have Peter Yan,
Those are the Eagles fans. They're upset with you. Just let you know.
you have like Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley, and Peter Yan's a much better fighter, but he left it to the judge's decision. Or if you're a situation like Israel Adesanya was this past Saturday, where he's winning the fight, but he allowed the judge to stop the fight early because he wasn't defending himself. It's the same thing. When you're playing the if this was the Buffalo Bills and it was the Super Bowl and it was two just great teams going at each other, and those blown calls mattered to the point where we lost the Super Bowl because of it, fine. This is the 4-5, now 5-5 Washington Commanders with Taylor Heineke. You should not be in a position to allow yourself to lose a football game to Taylor Heineke because of the referees. Now, the
Can't stand that
referees
kid.
had 3 egregious calls, in my opinion. First one, out of bounds, the hit on CJ Gardner Johnson, hitting Curtis Samuel when he was still in bounds, and they called a 15-yard personal foul. Second one, the Dallas Goedert face mask, where they grabbed his face mask, he fumbled, now Goddard's hurt. That's the biggest loss there is the fact that he hurt his shoulder going down from that.
A loss within a loss.
And then the third one was the Brandon Graham. You guys hustling. He slides on the ground on his knees, puts his hands up to just try to touch the quarterback down, and you call a personal foul. And I will say this, the most Bush League thing I seen in that game was Taylor Heineke celebrating a personal foul like he had just won the Super Bowl. Like he did something.
Thank you for bringing that up because I'm going to tell you. Let me tell you something about that. That made me jump on I hate Heineke bus. The play wasn't even over, and he's like, "Yes, yes." I'm like, dude, I hope someone steals your green colored Nikes you're going to go buy because you beat the Eagles. Like, the Eagles win that game 99 out of 100 times. It was a freak game, and I agree with you. Don't blame the refs. However, the thing that bothers me about the Dallas Goedert car is protection of the player. Like, the face mask is one of the most obvious ways grabbing the face mask to injure people. They missed one on Jalen Hurts. Not a lot of people talked about that. The Gardner Johnson hit you brought up, a lot of people say that they got the call wrong. It should have been leading with the helmet. I hear after the fact. I guess it's debatable. They said the broadcast got that wrong. But, overall, it just felt like, and when they missed a call, sometimes you get those makeup calls in the NFL. We've all seen them. We know they exist. We didn't get any makeup calls, and we're the home team. So I kind of feel like they didn't lose the game because of the refs. They would have been able to overcome it with all the mistakes they made. We'll get to Jonathan Gannon and his Swiss cheese defense later on. That's coming up. Don't you worry.
I want to get to that
And,
because that's the part. That's the reason they lost the game, Godfrey. And that's the
yeah.
point. That's the reason why this week they have already made 2 signings for the interior of the defensive line. And I
Never heard of
promise
that
you,
guy.
can we
What's
get
his
the
name?
grades first? Can we get the grades? Because I want to start with
Yeah,
Jonathan
let's
Gannon.
do the grades.
All right. Jonathan Gannon's where I want to start.
The rip.
I give Jonathan Gannon a D. And I hate giving Jonathan Gannon a D in a game like this. But everyone I knew, you knew, everyone and their mother knew what Washington was going to do in this football game. They watched a blueprint that Houston laid out for them with Dameon Pierce the week prior. They ran the ball up the middle multiple times. They controlled the sticks. They didn't get themselves in a lot of 3rd and longs. They had so many 3rd and 1s in that game. So many 3rd and 1s in that game. So Jonathan Gannon, knowing that, like, why are you not adjusting? How do I know that? Godfrey knows that. The morning show at WIP knew it. Every fan at home knows it. My man William Joseph knows it. They all knew what Washington was going to do going into this game. But our defensive coordinator, either he knew it and just couldn't stop it, which that to me is scary, or he didn't know it and he's just that oblivious.
So here, yeah. I mean, I have a problem with his design and the philosophical or their their defensive philosophy on this team, right? And I think that points to a lot of it. There, I said this last year, and I'm saying it again, and I was hoping he would change it. The way he designs his defense, the bend don't break style, is designed to be up with a lead, right? So when you're not playing with a lead and you get a team that runs the ball down your throat, the defense can be taken advantage of easily. And that's the problem there, right? Like you need to run that. It reminds me of the Chiefs. The Eagles aren't the Chiefs, but that's how they run their defense. Like they get, they're assuming they're going to be playing by a lead most of the time. So my thing is, if you're going to have that philosophy, no problem. Then you should be able to switch to a different defense when you don't have a lead, right? Like that's, and there's a lot of things that are left to be desired, but we knew they were going to have trouble with the run. There was no adjustment there. I mean, I'm with him. I'm not going to give him the D. You know what I mean? But I'm going to give him the D. He's gonna get the D minus.
Jesus,
Um,
a family show. You're gonna
is it a
come
family
on,
show?
Godfrey.
I don't know if it's a family show, but I mean, hey, if it is, sorry, that wasn't one safe for work. Just cut out minute 5 through 6. But anyway, you know, um, yeah, I'm there. I mean, I was even leaning toward a F plus. I mean, I just
F plus. That's
yeah,
just give him a D. Just give him the
why
D.
not? All right, give him the D.
F plus.
Fine. Oh, wait, does the F plus sound nicer just because he got the plus? So it was
Yeah.
horrible. I didn't like the game plan. Obviously, the Birds weren't executing. I mean, part of that, the players have to take some responsibility as well. Robert Quinn, they traded for him. He should be on the back of the milk carton. Haven't seen him make a play. Not yet. Maybe he needs to get adjusted. 18 and a half sacks last year. I'm still waiting for him to arrive. I feel like he hasn't actually played and put the uniform on. I feel like he's still waiting at the Philly airport for the Uber to pick him up and get him to the game. That's how minimal his impact has been so far. I'm not going to say he's not going to be good, and it's not all on him, but I'm just pointing out parts of the defense. And, it's
But Robert
what
Quinn was brought here to rush the passer, and in both
right.
games he's played in, it's been interior runs. So, in order to stop that, the Philadelphia Eagles went out and made 2 signings this week. But we'll get into those signings after we get done the grades. What are you giving Gannon? You giving him your F plus?
Yeah, fuck that. He's getting an F plus. The FU
All right,
plus.
so let's move on to Nick Sirianni. What do you give Nick Sirianni?
I give Nick Sirianni I give him a C minus.
Okay. Why?
I did not like the first like they scored on a short field. Did not like the first I don't know 20 plays. I felt like we were too pass heavy, and I just felt like the Redskins have been susceptible to the run, but yet we didn't
They're the
run. I know
Commanders.
you had it. Huh? What'd you say?
They're the Commanders. They're
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
going to keep making that mistake.
The commies, the Commanders, the worst football team and organization in all of sports is susceptible against the run. And it didn't seem like running was they just had this idea where they're gonna pass it. And I feel like they didn't really have a plan to take advantage of their weaknesses, so to speak, right? And I just kind of felt like, yeah, your scripted plays weren't really popping off like you thought they should. I know AJ Brown got hurt, maybe that played a little bit of it. Devontae Smith started stepping up. Goddard getting hurt did. But I just felt like, there was too much passing going on. So you got to the point where now you have to pass because you're behind, time's running out. The Redskins never really had a large lead. It was like death by a rusty butter knife.
Stop calling them the Redskins. They're the
I'm sorry, the
Commanders. I
Commanders,
will disconnect the show and you can talk to yourself. You keep doing that.
the Potatoes.
I'm
They
all right with that.
so these
I
guys,
give Nick Sirianni a C also. And let me
yeah,
tell you, I give him a C for the same reasons you do. Miles Sanders cannot have one carry at the half.
no,
That can't
no,
happen. And
yeah,
when you look at this Eagles team, and I understand you want to get pass happy. They tried getting pass happy early last year. They learned from their mistakes. They learned to run the football. But in order to infringe on your in
the hell is
order to
that?
infringe your will on a team, you have to get the offensive line involved in bullying. So where's Washington? Where are the Commanders strong? Their defensive line is good at rushing the passer. That's where
Right,
they're strong. How do you slow down a pass rush?
run at it. Right.
run, and play action. And the
Yeah.
only way play action works is if you run the football. The Philadelphia Eagles, even if you were getting 4, 5, 6 yards, that defense needed a break. They were on the field for 2 long drives in a row, and 3 and outs really hurt them. And, them allowing that extra 3 points at the end of the half was the difference between a 21-20 game and a 23-21 game before the turnover for Goddard, right? Like, that's the difference there.
Yep.
Then if you're up 21-20 there before Goddard fumbles the ball, maybe you're not frantically trying to move down the field and you're running the ball. Maybe that doesn't happen. Listen, what if? The Philadelphia Eagles made a lot of mistakes in that game. Quez Watkins fumble, I don't blame it on the kid. He made a great catch. He tried getting up and he was tucking the ball and he got knocked out. He didn't
Freak
see
play.
where the guy was coming from. I don't blame it on him, but it's a mistake. The Jalen Hurts pass to AJ Brown. AJ Brown hit him right in the hands, even though it was in the double coverage. I don't blame either one of them on it, but I do blame the play calling. I blame the script of the game. You went in there versus a team and you tried to embarrass them by throwing all over the yard and getting a huge lead on them instead of winning the football game. The goal is to leave with a W. I don't care if it looks ugly. I don't care if it looks great. The goal is to leave with a W. And when you play the Commanders at home with Taylor Heineke, you got to leave with a W. You have to.
Yeah. 100%. And listen, the Redskins were coming in. They wanted to slow down the tempo of the game, right?
Bro,
And
stop calling them the
I mean,
Redskins.
the Commanders. You know what? For years I've had that, and I called them potatoes, and I was fine. And just this tonight, it's just in my brain. But the Washington football team has that's what their recipe is. They don't really have a whole lot else to go on. I mean, Taylor Heineke is not going to throw 50 times a game, and if you force them to do that, they're going to lose, right? So it just I don't think they were game planning with their opponent in mind. That's what it really looks like from afar. And I'm with you. C's across the board for Jonathan Gannon.
I gave Jonathan Gannon a D. You
I'm
gave him an
sorry,
F. I gave
F
Sirianni a
plus.
C. You gave him a C.
Yeah,
And you're
C.
gonna hate my grade. I give Jalen Hurts.
I might not. Go ahead, tell me. Tell me
I
what
gave
your grade's
Jalen
gonna be.
Hurts an A minus.
Okay.
I will tell you why I gave him an A minus. Okay. I don't think he was bad. I don't put the interception on him. It hit AJ Brown in the hands. I mean, made it. You
Right.
shouldn't throw the ball double
Correct.
team, but you did that last week, and they got away with it versus Pittsburgh, throwing to AJ Brown and double team. Okay. You threw a bomb to Quez Watkins, which should have been the go ahead score. That was a great play. You know where the
Yeah.
minus comes in at, Godfrey? The
Right.
minus comes in one spot. It's the 3 and outs right before the half, and then I guess the second spot would be the one drive that drives me more nuts than anything. The Eagles get the ball back. They're down they're down 26-21, and they go 1, 2, 3 and out. He tries to rush up the right side. He gets tackled for a 3rd and 13. That drive, people forget that drive happened. They had the ball down 26-21 and they punted it away. Now, defense should have got off the field. I understand everything that happened afterwards, but they forget the Eagles had the ball with 4 minutes left in the game. And man,
Yeah.
I don't put that I put that on Hurts, but I put that on the entire offense. They have to move the ball there.
100%. And I feel like O-line didn't have its best game. Um, you know, I don't know if there's any reason for that or they were just off, but I don't feel like they had their best game. And when I say that, he's getting some pressure. Yeah, he threw that into double coverage, but I don't want a quarterback that's Chad Pennington or a game manager that's being shy. If he's making those throws and he's hitting people in previous weeks, I want him to take some risks. I want him to try to win a game. And that's what he was doing with that throw. And AJ Brown didn't come up with it. Um, and it just kind of happens that time. This just wasn't their game. It's just one of those games where you're like, nothing is going their way. And you could just feel the upset coming once you got through a certain part of the game. At halftime, I was like, oh, they're in trouble. And
My man Billy Brancato William Joseph is in the chat going ham, and it's all factual stuff. Like, I don't know if you could put some of this on the screen, but the Commanders just showed you that you can win a game averaging 3 yards a carry if you commit to the run. If he doesn't fumble, we're talking about Hurts threw a dime and led his team on a game-winning drive.
Mhm.
And he said he'd give Hurts a B minus. He looked like that one read and go panic was back. I don't necessarily disagree with that, and I'd be willing to listen to a B, maybe not a B minus, because the possessions were so limited. But
Right.
I understand
They're
that. I
keeping
understand
yep.
that grade. I just don't think Hurts looked bad. I think that AJ Brown's ankle hurt. I think that really slowed down the offense, and I think the fact that they were pressing because the Commanders kept holding on to the ball so long. I don't put the fact that the game plan was so poor in the first half that they couldn't run the football, and we ran it one time to Miles Sanders. Just I don't put that on Hurts. And I understand, the one read and run. I get that, but Washington ran a
So
wide nine defense to just try to keep Hurts in the pocket. Teams are going to try to keep Hurts in the pocket. That's their goal.
yeah.
With
So
this
another
game
thing.
that just happened, I don't think that the Eagles did not move the ball. They moved the ball fine. Per drive, they were fine. They had 3 and outs though. And those 3 and outs, those 3 possessions, I wish you could have back. And then you add on to that, you have 3 turnovers. So
So I want to go with a couple eye popping stats here, right? And then I'll tell you why they mean something to me. So time of possession for the Commanders was 40-24,
yep.
right?
Oh,
And for the Eagles it was
what is this? 40, 40, oh, 40,
1936.
20. Yeah, okay. 40 and 24 seconds. I thought you meant
Yeah.
40 to 24. I'm like, that doesn't add up.
The
Sorry.
crowd wants to applause for my use of Commanders. Thank you. Okay. 4 turnovers, 3 fumbles lost, interceptions thrown to 2 total turnovers for the Commanders. 1 fumble lost, 1 interception thrown. And then we have total plays, 47 for the Eagles, 81 for the Redskins. So the good news here is people are starting to respect the Eagles because they're going to approach them like they approached the Chiefs. They wanted to keep Jalen Hurts on the sideline, right? You want to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. You want to keep the great quarterbacks on the sideline. You want to control the clock, limit their opportunities to make plays. And that's exactly what the Redskins came in looking to do. And they did it exactly how they wanted to, right?
You
So
did it again. You just gave yourself applause and then you called him. Come
I'm
on,
trying to get
bro.
my average up. So the Commanders did exactly what they wanted to do. Okay. And so I'm gonna give Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna give him a A minus. I don't think it's a bad grade for him. I don't blame it on him. He made plays that put the team ahead and give him opportunity. He didn't have a lot of plays. He didn't have a lot of pitches, so to speak. So you can't really put it on there. And I think if he was on the field more and the defense had a better approach, you might have had more plays for Jalen Hurts. So I can't really put it on him. I mean, one thing I forgot to bring up is Terry McLaurin just killed us for 128 yards. Um, just killed us, right?
That's what
And
happens when you commit to the run. The
yeah,
Philadelphia Eagles are stacking the box, and Harry McLaurin's a track star. When you and listen, people were making pictures of Darius Slay like it was Slay's fault. There's a reason Terry McLaurin can't get guarded by one player. He's a track star. He's just faster than them. So when you run play action and you force the Eagles to stop to load up the box, he's just running to an open spot in the field. You can't
yep,
put a corner in that situation.
yeah. Corner's a tough job too. Like your best corner can get burnt. It's one of those thankless jobs almost. I mean, Darius Slay's still a great player. You know, I look at it like a pitcher in baseball. You're not going to get a no hitter every night. It's just not going to happen. And that's not entirely his fault. The defensive scheme spoke to what they were doing, and they did stay committed to the run, set up the play action, and they were able to take advantage of it. So that just trickled down through all of the Eagles' problems that night. And the Commanders won. The Eagles had opportunities to still win it, even with all that. And they weren't able to put it all together. And I like to congratulate all the Eagles fans out there and radio hosts in Philadelphia that mushed the Eagles that were talking undefeated last week. We talked about it because you boxed birds deep into a corner. We had to bring it up briefly, but I'm glad that 8-0 thing is gone. I'm not glad they got a loss, but you guys mushed them. They were 8-0. The exact week you start talking undefeated, they lost. You're a mush. There's a lot of mushes out there. That's all
I
I'm
got
gonna
a
say.
positive to come out of this game.
Okay.
Very strong positive. After the game, all right, so let me ask you a question. I think you know this answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Who would you say the emotional leader on offense and the emotional leader on defense are for the
Uh,
Eagles? You get it wrong, I'm going to be mad at you.
Offense, I would say would be Jason Kelsey,
That's correct.
right? Um,
Yes.
although they said he passed the torch to Jalen apparently,
Okay.
but that
That's
was
wrong.
during the broadcast. But it's
Nope.
Jason
That's wrong.
Kelsey on defense. I mean, I'm gonna go with Darius Slay.
I think it's Brandon
Uh,
Graham.
Brandon Graham. Okay, you can go with yeah.
Okay. So follow me real quick. In multiple interviews after the game, they tried and tried and tried to get them to blame the officials, to make excuses, and their response after the game was one of what you would want your leaders to say. Jason Kelsey even got in an argument. He goes, "There wasn't a face mask on the Dallas Goddard play. You want to know why? Because one wasn't called, and that's just a game. You have to play the game the way it's called. You cannot worry about what calls made, and it's on us for putting us in a situation to worry about whether a call is made or not. We shouldn't have done that. We played like crap. We need to be better." Brandon Graham said, "Listen, I was just trying to hustle. I understand why the referee made the call that he had to make. I was just trying to hustle. I didn't know if he was getting up. I just wanted to touch him down." But did not blame the official. And I'll tell you right now, the officials in the NFL have been known to retaliate versus teams that trash them. They will remember the fact that the Eagles did not trash them when they had every opportunity in the world to, and they went out in the media and said the things that they needed to say. And whether they believe it or not, I think that's leadership. I think that's great leadership from the Eagles in the locker room to say, listen, on the officials, it's on us. We need to be better. Stop blaming the officials. Blame us. We played like crap.
I think all refs and umpires from rec league softball to the NFL retaliate if you trash them. Um, Gene might disagree with that because he's been on, worn the blue before. But I'm just saying, if you trash them, I always, if I'm on a team, and I'm like, yo, take it easy on the ump, not because he's right, because I don't want him screwing us later on. And you know, Eagles wisely
Have you
took that
umpired
course.
before?
And
Have
have
you
I?
umpired
I have
before?
not. Nope.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you something right now. I want to be right so badly on the call that I don't have time to think of who a team is happening, what situation. I'm gonna just be clear with you, right? When I umpire,
Mm.
I try my best to get the call right, and I don't. There's players that I umpire that I can't stand, but I don't like umpire them differently because the play happens so quick. That, oh, I don't have time to think about. Oh, that was so and so right there. Let me call him out instead of save. I don't
What about a
I don't
judgment call
think
where it's just like a little close? Do you go with
I
the
I
guy?
don't have that the time. It's just your brain sees it, your brain says what you think it is, and then that's the call you make. I
Yeah.
believe in football in the NFL, that's a little bit more prevalent because they can find things in a game. There's holding on every play, right? Just
Oh yeah.
what gets called, what doesn't get called. Every
Right.
play in the NFL, there's holding. If you slow down, bro, I have all 22. Like I have the NFL Plus package. I watch all the games in 30 minutes. You can pause, rewind. I have DVR. Uh, I can watch a game and pause you a hold on every single play, just whether it's called or not. It- Players grab jerseys constantly. Billy Brancato, William Joseph was an offensive lineman. Ask him how many times he's grabbed interior. Now, they tell you to grab in here and not exterior, so you're not holding him, so it's not. But that's the way you're taught to play offensive line. So it's easy in the NFL to carry things over, and holding is such a huge call. 10-yard penalties put people in first and 20s. A lot tougher to get out of it. So, I mean, I remember
Yep.
the Eagles after a Thursday night game that they won, trashed the officials. It was they were trashing the officials, and the next week, I think it was at Hockley, what they called like 3 or 4 straight holding calls and start the game just to let him know what it was. Also, Allen Iverson speaks of a time where he had said something to an official, and the next
Yeah.
game they called him for palming, carrying the ball, and the referees were like, "Well, Allen carries every play." He's like, "Yep." He took a shot at one of ours, and he goes, How long are you guys gonna do this?" He's like, "I understand what I did. How long are you guys gonna do this?" And those are stories that go around all the that's why I'm so happy that the Eagles handled it with class and with dignity and the way leaders should. You don't blame the official.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I mean, it's the way to go. In all sports, it's the way to go. But I especially in football, I think like you're asking for trouble. Basketball is a great example. I remember that Allen Iverson story, and yeah, they took the high road because at the end of the day, you have to overcome the refs, just like in most sports, right? MMA, boxing, right? Don't leave it to the judges. Knock them out, right? Win the fight. Don't make it so close that, you have to have something like that, like a penalty, push it over the edge the other way. Because really, you made that part of the equation by underperforming. And that's just the truth of the matter. And they're veterans, and that's why they're good leaders because they know that, they admit that, and they're not going to let their team, make excuses for themselves. A younger team, I bet, would have trashed the refs, ended up being fined by the NFL, all that kind of stuff would have happened. The coach might have even went off. It was in it, and the Eagles didn't do that. So that's how they're a real good team, not a team that's like just good by record because how they're going to carry themselves after a loss.
Agreed. All right, so we got to move on. We got we talked about the Eagles Commanders game. We got another game coming up this week. Got the Indianapolis Colts. You got Jeff Saturday. Gonna travel 1 o'clock game, play at Indianapolis, a team that's just went back to Matt Ryan. Look like a little bit of resurgence from Jonathan Taylor. Guess what? You know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a healthy dose of Jonathan Taylor, and you have an accurate quarterback that's gonna stand back there and throw to the play action when he needs to play in that play action. This is a challenge. Do not look past the Colts. This is not going to be a blowout. I'm trying to let everyone know now. Jeff
Do you think?
Saturday, if anything, is going to bring a game plan of running the football. He's going to
Right.
run, run, and run. You guys remember that iconic Peyton Manning Jeff Saturday exchange?
Yep.
Stop calling the plays at the line, Jeff. He's like, we need to run the ball. It's like, we'll run the ball. You've seen the argument. It's been all over. Jeff Saturday
Yeah.
is going to run the football. They're going to run the football this week. And the Eagles brought in 2 players this week. Want to talk about it, Godfrey?
Yeah. So, never heard of this guy Sue before. I'm joking.
Shut up. Shut up.
So, uh, they were both not playing, right? They wanted to play. Teams didn't sign them. Eagles are trying to fill a hole. Linval Joseph as well, and Dominican Sue. Uh, Sue has always been kind of a nasty player, but I'm looking. I think that might be an edge the Eagles defense needs. Maybe that he helps with some leadership that way. He had 6 sacks, I believe, last year, so he can rush the passer. He's not just a hole plugger like Linval Joseph. I mean, how much Gene? How much do they have left in the tank? What do you think this does for the Eagles?
First of all, both these signings are genius.
Mhm.
I hate saying that because they're not going to be like, if you think Linval Joseph or Ndamukong Suh are going to play a ton of downs, a ton of snaps, you're mistaken. You don't understand the Eagles' defensive line situation. But what they are going to do is they're going to help the rotations. The Philadelphia Eagles
Yep.
constantly run rotations through their defensive line to keep fresh linemen on the field. So you'll probably see, you know, Linval Joseph on running plays, early downs, 1st and 10, obvious run situations. And you'll see Ndamukong Suh in get after the passer situations where you'll be able to put him, Hargrave, or Cox on the other side and just get after the quarterback. It's great for the rotation. And I think what hurts Fletcher Cox is he has to constantly be that 3 down defensive lineman, stop the run on third down. Go ahead, go get the quarterback. When in reality, the defensive line is simple, man. You got guys that get after the quarterback, and you got guys that plug the run. And what Jordan Davis did so well that helped him out. And everybody's like, oh, he only played 25% of the snaps. Well, no shit. But he played the snaps where there were obvious run situations, and he took up 2 blockers almost every play he was in there because of how big of a man he is. And when he didn't, he disrupted the hole so much that it allowed Eagles linebackers to get around. Guys, I don't mean to say I love Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean is one of my favorite players coming out of college. But the reason he was so successful, he understood exactly how to play around Jordan Davis. You got so big of a man right there. Linebacker just learns how to hit a smaller hole, and it looks great. What the Eagles did this week is they said, we need defensive line depth. We need guys that can plug the run so our pass rushers can stay fresh and don't have to play 2 down, stop in the run, and then have to get after the quarterback. I love the moves. Not because they're going to be like huge highlight reel film guys. That's not what they're going to be. But the Eagles, listen, the next 6, 7 weeks, you got Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones. You got running back after running back after running back that's going to run the ball on you. You have to stop the run. You brought in rotational pieces to help stop the run. Not to mention veteran presences that have played in big games before. And with Ndamukong Suh, you said it perfectly, man. He's a little dirty, but he brings a nasty edge to your defense. And would you rather your defense be nasty, or would you rather them be, oh, we're going to play by the rules and make sure we tackle you and get you down, hopefully, and, good game? What
He's
do
one
you
of those
want?
guys. He's one of those guys that Philly fans would hate, but as soon as he puts on the Eagle green, they would love him. It's the Bryce Harper effect. We hated Harper, but once he became a Philly, we were all about him. And I think that gives the Eagles a little bit of nasty in them, and I think they need a little bit of nasty, to be honest. I'm not saying they're bad defense, but I like that edge, and you know, I think it's a great move. They are specialists at what they do. They're veterans. They know what they bring. They know how to bring it. They are going to be able to catch on quickly because they have years of experience. And I think it's a great move by the Eagles for them recognizing something that has not been good for them in the past couple weeks, especially this past week. And I'm glad that they did it because you have some teams coming up that can run the ball. Titans come to mind, and those are teams that's one team, for example, that will run the ball on you and try to control the whole game. And they can definitely do that. They've exhibited they know how to do that. The Titans are somebody I was thinking of. So that helps shore that up. The rotation's important. You got to keep the players fresh. Eagles have always been that type of team that adopts that philosophy. And I'm excited about that because I got to tell you, if we were going in the next couple games without doing anything on the D line, that was going to be tough sledding. Still might be a little tough sledding. It's not it's not the cure, but it's definitely going to help medicate the situation and make these side effects subside from losing Jordan Davis, from the high ankle sprain. So you brought up the Kobe Dean. Just want a side note here. When do you think he gets more snaps on the defense?
When an injury happens.
So you
don't
just think
think
it's
TJ
injury.
Edwards
Okay.
He plays TJ Edwards' role. That's the
Right.
same. They play the same position. Now,
Yeah.
TJ Edwards is playing great this year. And
Yes.
I never wish for an injury. I don't want him to get hurt. But it's good to have depth to that position. It's good to have depth to that position. So,
Agree.
I kind of want to address one thing real quick, if you don't mind. Jonathan
Yep.
Gannon, right? Before the season started, we said we're going to find out this year whether it's the chef or whether it's the ingredients, because you've gotten all the ingredients this year. So we'll know whether last year was the chef or the ingredient. Week 1, 34 points to Detroit. Didn't look very good. Okay, he adjusted. They played a lot better week 2 at home versus Minnesota. They played better throughout the year, an 8-0 record. A lot of pressure was taken off of Jonathan Gannon until week 8 when they played the Houston Texans. Damian Pierce, listen, Lovie Smith knows what he's doing, bro. Say what you want about him, but he understands how to game plan a game. Run the football, control the sticks. And he did that. Kept the Houston Texans close in a situation in a game where we played back-to-back games. I'm not kidding with you, where it's very tough to find an edge for the other team in any specific spot on the whole roster. Quarterback, running back, offensive line, wide receiver, defense. But the game plan was good, and it limited Jalen Hurts' possessions, and it controlled the clock, and it kept their defense fresh by running the football. So when you can do things like that, it allows them to limit the possessions and hopefully get out of there with a win. Now, you hope he would adjust it. I thought he was going to adjust versus Washington. He did not adjust. Did not adjust. When he didn't adjust versus Washington, you start to worry. Well, Howie Roseman just gave him 2 new ingredients. 2 new ingredients to use. Hey, listen, that pizza's getting a little stale. Here's some crushed red peppers. I'm going to bring it back to food, but gave them ingredients. He has the ingredients. If the chef can't make it work with these ingredients versus Matt Ryan, Taylor Heineke, Davis Mills, it's a problem. It's a problem.
Huge problem.
So,
It's a huge problem. And Gannon, I still don't understand why he got a head coaching interview last year, but I guess nothing makes sense when it comes to head coaching in the NFL.
he had 3 head coaching
interview.
interviews and 1 second interview.
Crazy. Nothing makes sense coaching in the NFL, but so I mean, I haven't seen anything from them being like, wow. Like, who I saw that was a defensive coordinator and I was like, wow, that guy's going to be a hell of a coach. It was Robert Saleh on the 49ers. And it's the proof is in the pudding. He's got a franchise that's usually always losing 6-3 halfway through the season. I mean, so say what you want about the Jets and their future, what they are now, but Saleh's a good coach. I think he's showing that. And I would see his defense. I would see his mannerism with the players. Like, he's not even visible to me. And I'm not even saying you got to be visible to be a good coach, but I'm not like, oh, there's Gannon again, getting on his players, this and that. And it's just, he's just like vanilla ice cream. That's the best way I could describe him. I mean, there's nothing really exciting about him, and that's fine. And like, Jim Johnson wasn't an exciting personality, but his defense was exciting, right? And he doesn't bring any of that to the table. I'm just miffed by it. And you do have your GM making moves for you to, you can't be like, well, I don't have the personnel. You have the personnel. And there's got to be more flexibility to his defensive game plan. I remember for years, Andy Reid's a great coach, Hall of Fame coach. But for years, when he was the Eagles coach, everybody will always say he got out coached sometimes, or he doesn't make changes at halftime on his game plan. That was the early years of Andy Reid and maybe like circa before like 2010. And it was pretty accurate a lot of times. But when a coach doesn't make any adjustments, man, makes you wonder like what's in the wheelhouse, like overall, because it is obvious adjustment. I'm Joey Bag of Donuts over here, and I could see last week that they were going to run the ball. I could have told you the first 2 minutes after the Texans game, the Redskins were going to run the ball. No doubt about it. I mean, Brian Robinson had his best day as a pro.
You get through a show. I don't understand it. Like, I really don't get it. I mean this in the nicest way possible. This is like the 11th time that you've not called them the Commander. Like, it's unreal. I can't even. I wish I could. It's just bothersome, dude.
Well, the good news is they're not playing them anymore, and they're gone. But
I hope they play them again in the playoffs. I pray that we get an opportunity to get to play the Commanders again. They sneak a first round win and they play us in the second round because I want the 1 seed, obviously. But I would love
you want the first round revenge.
Chance. Oh my!
First round.
The way they acted after that game. The way they acted after that game was just like it was like Appalachian State knocking off Michigan. It was just like it was like the most crazy win of all time. I get it. They beat the undefeated Eagles, but when someone doesn't know how to win, it shows you very much what they're all about. We got a game to break down though. Real quick, offenses versus defense. Defensive side of the ball, Shaquille Leonard had surgery. He's out for the year for the Colts. The main stay on that defense right now is Stephon Gilmore. Going to be probably manned up versus A.J. Brown. The Philadelphia Eagles need to run the football. They have to run the football. Give their defense breaks. Be efficient on the offensive end of the ball. You're going to be able to stop the Colts. Run the ball. You got to run the ball to win this Sunday. Get out of there with a win. I don't care how it looks. I don't care if it's close. You leave Indy with a win. That's the goal.
You think they cover?
Don't
6.5.
Don't care. No.
Don't think they cover. Okay, so closer.
2014 Eagles.
Okay. Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to. I think this is a letdown game for the Colts. I think the Eagles are going to respond because this is a game that is really telling. How will you respond after a bad loss? I think that they will respond well. Yes, you're missing Dallas Goedert. Next man up. And when I look at the Colts, they're going to definitely run the ball. Their coach is offensive lineman. He was a center. You got a really good offensive line. You got guys like Quentin Nelson on that line. They have underperformed somewhat. But do understand they did play the Raiders last week. I'm not taking anything away from that win, but the Raiders aren't in the same class as the Eagles this year. So yes, they did win. Jonathan Taylor looked like Taylor of old. I don't expect that against the Eagles. I feel like he'll get his. He'll probably get 90 yards, 100 yards. Matt Ryan looked rejuvenated. Should have been the starting quarterback anyway. I don't think they should have benched him, but okay, that's another story. And they do have good receivers. Defensively, I think the Eagles are going to be able to hold it down. And offensively, they don't have Shaquille Leonard, he's on IR. That's their best playmaker on defense. And the Eagles should be able to move the ball. I mean, the Colts have been really inconsistent. And, when there's a coaching change, whether, we like it or we don't like it, or the fans, whoever, when you change a coach or you change the quarterback, there's always that rallying cry of, let's get behind the quarterback. Let's get behind the coach. First game, that pixie dust is gone for the Colts. That's over with. It's on to the second week with the new regime. And I think Nick Sirianni wants to win this game because he's coming back to Indianapolis, to face the organization where he was at before the Eagles. And I think that they're going to win. And I see a closer game. I see a close game like that. I see like a 24, 17 win, something to that effect. 24-13. I would even go 24-13.
Well, defense versus offense, or sorry, offense versus defense. Their offense versus our defense.
Go with ours.
I feel like that the game plan has to be load the box up and stop the run. Darius Slay is not going to have an issue with Michael Pittman. He's a slower receiver.
Right.
I'm saying Michael Pittman's slow. No receiver in the NFL is slow, but he's not
a burner.
A track star. James Bradbury should be matched up with, it could be anybody on there. They have so many Paris Campbell and they have a lot of different number 2 receivers on that team. I think the Eagles should just load the box, make Matt Ryan beat you from the pocket, and do what you did versus him week 1 of last year. Get in his face, hit him, put him in third and long situations, and get off the field.
Yep.
Big game this week. Got to bounce back.
Here's the thing. Matt Ryan, serviceable quarterback. But here's the big difference between him and a Taylor Heinicke. Matt Ryan is a statue. Tyler Heinicke is not. Say what you want about him. He's more mobile in the pocket, getting out of the pocket than a Matt Ryan. You get Matt Ryan off a spot, it's going to cause problems. So, you should be able to get to him with this pass rush. This needs to happen. and that needs to be part of the game. You need to get some sacks. I want to see. I'm looking for Robert Quinn to be the pro he is and respond, and get a couple sacks this game. And I think that's totally possible. I refuse to believe he's all washed up. I don't believe that. And I think this is where he gets off the schneid and makes his presence felt. Quinn has the ability to do it still, and Matt Ryan again is not a mobile quarterback. He never has been. Even at his older age, he's even less mobile. So the Eagles should definitely be able to cause some havoc back there. I mean, it's entirely possible. Do you think Sue and Linval Joseph are playing this week?
Yes.
I thought so too. I was debating that with a friend of mine. I said, they're veterans. I don't, being defensive linemen, I don't see how you couldn't get them in there unless they physically couldn't be there. So, yeah, I agree. So I think that makes a difference for the Eagles this
I'm going
week.
to be real quick with it. We got to get off the line soon. My counterfeit green this week is Taylor Heineke. I think he's a fraud. I think that the way he acted after the game showed you how much of a loser he is. I understand winning in the NFL is hard. I understand it was a big win, but to celebrate personal foul when you slid down in the backfield and did nothing,
Amen.
that Brandon Graham let up and slid on his knees and just touched him with his hands. Celebrate a blown call by a referee. It's absolute fraudulent. That's my counterfeit green this week is Taylor Heineke.
I think it's a great counterfeit green. Mine is football related, but very quick. There was a lot of controversy over the Jeff Saturday hire. I agree. Kind of a funny hire, no doubt about that. And definitely got to give these minority coaches more chances. And just to do it that way was pretty egregious. However, hearing Bill Cowher and Rex Ryan and all those guys cry about it bothers me because, I've been in broadcasting. I know people that have been working their ass off for years, including minority people in broadcasting that don't get as many opportunities that need to get overstepped and get those opportunities taken away because guys that were coaches or former players that aren't real broadcasters get that position and opportunity to get fast tracked because they're part of the good old boys club. So don't sit there and cry for me, Argentina, when you practice the same thing when it comes to broadcasting. I know a lot of guys that feel that way, have always felt that way. And, you're going to sit there and say that, but a lot of you are part of the good old boys club. I mean, that's the problem with the NFL. That's why we're not getting born minority head coaches because it's the good old boys club. Well, you're participating on that on the broadcast side too. So that's my counterfeit green.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in this week. If you want to continue the conversation, the football conversation, we'll be on pregame and pigskin, which starts at 7:00 with my man Kyle Edwards, D. Godfrey. So this is this week of Birds Deep. Any final thoughts?
Nope. Eagles turn the page, get the 9th win. That's my final thought.
All right, gentlemen. Yeah, wrap it up, Godfrey.
All right. See you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And this is the Godfrey and Mean Gene saying, take it Birds Deep.